And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. I mean, clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Welcome back. You're watching GB News. I'm Bethany Elsey with your top stories. Eurostar says it's being forced to cancel its services to London on Boxing Day because the RMT strikes will close the UK's high-speed line. It has more than 40,000 union members strike for a third time this week following an ongoing dispute over pay and conditions. RMT leader Mick Lynch says little progress has been made during negotiations, but he believes a compromise is achievable. More industrial action is planned for tomorrow. 3 women remain in a critical condition tonight after a suspected crowd crush at a concert venue in South London. They're aged 21, 23 and 33. Videos show a large crowd of people trying to force their way into the Brixton O2 Academy last night. Investigators say an officer has been referred to the Independent Office for Police Conduct after pushing a woman at the scene, and one person has been arrested for assaulting an officer. The cause of the crush is still unclear. A man from Leicestershire who murdered his partner in his parents' home has been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 23 years. Ross McCullum was dating his colleague Megan Newborough when he strangled and cut her throat last year. The court heard how he tried to cover up her death by hiding her clothes in nearby bins and leaving a voicemail on her phone. Her family described him as the definition of a monster.
I know how difficult it's been for my parents and sister to sit at court every day, listening to the web of lies spun by someone Megan not only knew, but whom she trusted, someone who clearly had no love for her at all. We're the ones now serving the life sentence. No amount of time in prison can bring Megan back. We have to carry on with our lives as best as we can, but Megan will never leave our thoughts.
A man and a woman have been arrested after 2 young children were found dead in East London. Emergency services were called to Cornwallis Road in Dagenham this afternoon. The boys aged 2 and 5 were pronounced dead at the scene. It's understood the man and woman were known to both children and they remain in police custody. Police are investigating a suspected triple murder in Northamptonshire. Anju Asok, who was an NHS nurse, and her 2 young children, Jiva and Janvi Saju, were found in a house in Kettering yesterday morning. A 52-year-old man is being questioned in connection with their deaths. And finally, new data shows at least £4.1 million in taxpayers' money was handed to Avanti West Coast last year, despite being the worst train operator for delays. The Office of Rail and Roads says only around 60% of its stops were on time between April and June 2021. But the government says they signed off on the bonuses based on operational performance and customer experience. Labour has called the payments a scandalous waste of money. You're up to date on TV, online and DAB plus radio. This is GB News. Now it's time for headliners.
Hello
well, welcome to Headliners. I'm Diane Spencer, and tonight our rough and ready tour guides navigating the media jungle are the wonderful comedians Josh Howie and Lewis Schaefer. But first, let's take a look at the front pages. The Daily Mail, hospitals told empty beds before 999 strike. The Telegraph, Sussexes will receive invite to the coronation. The Guardian, drugs found after parties at Truss's government home. All of these we will be looking at in depth. Mirror next, keep mum. King and Wills put dignity first and will not hit out at Harry. The Times, Sunak needs to get a grip. And finally, the Daily Star, eau de toilette. Coppers warn dodgy perfume bought down the boozer more than likely contains human pee. And those were your front pages. Right, well, let's get started. And the front page of the Daily Mail, Josh, take it away.
Here we go. Well, first of all, there's a picture of a young woman on there. I don't know who that is. Also, the Daily Mail...
You can't know who she is. She needs her privacy.
Yes, OK. I'll take your word for it. There's also, before we get to the main story here, they've really laying into the Radio Times. They're saying, bumper festive TV magazine. Why spend $5.25 on the Radio Times when the best TV listings are free? They really can't stop, like, trying to shaft BBC. So that's their thing there. I mean, of course, our viewers don't need the Radio Times anyway. We're just going to be... Surely they'll be just putting GB News on through the next 2 weeks, and that'll just stay on that. Yeah. So
why not? You can access us
save
on
yourself
the app.
$5.25 and £1.30 for the Daily Mail. But the main story is hospitals told empty beds before 999 strike. Essentially, we had yesterday the nurses' strike. There was disruption there. I don't believe there are reports. I'm sure if people did die because of it, this will be plastered on the front pages. But they are saying that this is potentially the ambulance service going on strike is going to create a much, potentially at real risk at people's lives here. So one of the things that they're going to do is try and empty as many beds as possible, which you sort of think they should be doing anyway.
It does sound rather alarming and quick, doesn't it? It makes it sound like they're sort of going to wheel them to the front door, shove them out.
Well, I know that, but there have been problems before in terms of people being accepted back into old people's homes and whatnot. Right. And I don't know, are we allowed to say old people anymore? Anyway,
yes,
age...
you are.
You are, good. As an old person, he has given me the get-go, thank you. And so because actually, I understand part of the delays that already happen is when people rock up in the ambulance, they can't get into the actual A&E because there's these backlogs. So the idea is there's going to be all these free beds and they'll just be like 15 minutes straight through the door, and then they can be seen once they're inside. So that's what they're hoping. Again, but it just raises questions to me, like, do we not have a more efficient system in place anyway?
I mean, what do you think, Lewis? Because obviously you sort of hail from a country where you don't have an NHS. So what do you think of all of this?
I think, basically, that the hospitals are on strike and the ambulance drivers are on strike, and probably more people will live because of it. It's the narco-medical establishment industry that's just made
the NHS sick. Industry, people saving lives.
No, it's not just the NHS. You call it the NHS to make it seem more warm and fuzzy.
Yes, it is warm and fuzzy.
It isn't warm and fuzzy. This is your country, right? In Israel, the doctors went on strike, and the death rate went down. I don't know whether this is the issue that we're going to discuss.
So you're in favour of privatisation, is what I'm hearing?
No, I'm in favour of firing 89% of the doctors.
I bet there is some sort of causal thing where when people go on strike, people don't allow themselves to get sick. I know that sounds a bit mental, but this kind of...
That's one of the reasons. Thank you very much. And
I'm sure there is some truth to that.
And it was during the COVID. People refused to cough because they knew they'd go to the hospital, they'd be put on a ventilator, and they'd be basically killed.
I see. So you think that maybe just abstinence is the best way forward in this? Just don't get sick, don't go, and you're fine.
Yes. I'm going one step further. I'm sorry for the people out there. A lot of the people in the NHS are fantastic, but they but hospitals kill people, and I think we need less of them.
OK, well, turning to the front page of the...
You're just coming straight out of the ballpark, aren't you?
Because this is the subject of the day. It's on my brain.
It's on your brain. It's on the front pages. It's also on the front page of the Daily Telegraph, where it says ambulance strikes will put the public at risk. But what has been given a greater bit of real estate on the front page of the Telegraph, Lewis, is the Sussexes will receive their invite to the coronation.
I know, and they're doing the right thing, the King and the Queen, because basically what makes the King and the Queen so powerful is the fact that they pretend that they don't care. In this country, I was like shocked. People are saying we got to get rid of the monarchy, and the monarchy just laughs, and that's their power. And the fact that the monarchy has taken these crazy Sussex horrible people, and they are horrible, even by American standards, they're horrible. You're horrible, right? Don't you agree, Diane?
I love the fact that the royals seem very #unbothered. And this whole, dignified silence, I think is really helping them because... Do you not think so, Josh? You're frowning at me.
No, I just think... I don't know if it's the royals as much as just being British. Let's just bottle it up, just get that anger and that resentment and just tuck it deep down inside and just secretly hate and, surely that's the best of being British.
I mean, every family is completely dystopic,
and it was
really,
funny. It was funny because one of the complaints that was in this article that they complained about was that the prince, the youngest one, Harry, yelled at his brother.
Oh, no.
That's like news. That's like news. You yell at your brother. I mean, you should see my kids yell. My sister and I were like, everybody.
I yell at you, and we're not even related.
No, we're not. You are. You're the Michael Corleone to my Fredo.
Thank you. It means what? I'm going to die soon.
No, it means that you're going to kill me.
Oh, I'm killing you.
Yeah, you're going to shoot him in
There's
a
a nice picture there, by the way, of the king on the front there dancing with Holocaust survivors at JW3, which is a Jewish community centre in London that I regularly perform at and don't do very well. Jewish audiences are tough.
They're horrible.
They're
horrible.
Tough crowd.
Let's move on.
For us,
for everyone else, they love, but when the Jewish act comes on there...
Hitler could perform for the Jews and they'd laugh more than they'd laugh
And that's why Lewis doesn't do very well.
And moving on, also, but we're going to stick with the Telegraph because there is another interesting story. The interest rate rises could crash house prices.
Yeah, could crash house prices. This is the Telegraph because all they care about is money. But and I love the Telegraph. But in this they say that because they're raising the interest rates because the nurses went on strike and the nurses and the COVID and the old doctors.
I think there might be other reasons.
No, this is the reason. The reason is we created inflation by pumping money during the COVID thing, which the doctors and the nurses of every country promoted.
Okay,
sorry,
Josh,
sorry.
I have to ask a question, possibly of Lewis. I mean, do you think Lewis is on something, and did he find it at maybe Truss's government house? Because if we look at the front page of The Guardian...
This is the front page, yes. Drugs found after... And by the way, I just want to reassure people, there was also on the front page of The Telegraph, on the cover there, it said bumper 2-week Christmas TV guide. Also on The Guardian one, there is also bumper Festa TV guide, just in case people were panicking and freaking out here. But yes, the big story here is drugs found after parties at Truss's government home. This is when she was still... before she was Prime Minister, but she was holding all of these events and she was allowed to in her role at the time, and they found cocaine there. And we are going to talk about that story in a little bit.
Yes.
And the other one, the big story here, arguably it's sort of stuck away at the bottom, is about there's been an apology over the palace incident where Lady Hussey and Ngozi Fulani, they met and Lady Hussey apologised. And Ngozi Fulani said, OK, I accept your apology and please don't investigate my charity.
OK, for the last part of this section, we're going to look at the Daily Star, the front page. Lewis, tell us about this horrendous eau de toilette.
Well, I'd say something. I love the Daily Star. This is the only time I ever get to see the Daily Star. And £1.20 it goes for. Can you believe that much money?
It's great paper.
But the police up there in Manchester, they've been breaking into places and they've been finding fake fake perfume.
You mean conducting raids? They're not breaking in.
Doing their job.
They're breaking in.
They're part of the police industrial complex.
Is it their job preventing people from having something that smells similar to something that they would have to pay a lot of money? But they found that in these fake perfumes, designer perfumes, they could contain cyanide and arsenic, and among other things, which we'll get to in a second. But the truth is that in cyanide already, people are eating foods that contain cyanide, such as almonds or lime.
I had to bet myself, in what section would you raise people's dietary habits?
This is the most important issue of our time. Is looking. Diane doesn't have to worry about it because she is beautiful and just delightfully healthy. Wow. She looks healthy. You're going fully downhill again. You were so good looking for a couple of weeks.
You think I had it going on there? Well, that's because I started using this perfume, which, cyanide, arsenic, and even urine inside it. But people don't understand, that's what they like in Manchester. We don't have a big Manchester, mate. I'm sure I won't get any grief for that. No, it's seen as sophisticated.
Now, they like the urine because it's the sign of, chat, whatever.
I don't think I've got any gigs in Manchester coming up.
I hope you haven't,
I've got gigs in Liverpool, so they'll love all of that there. But you know what? This is quite disturbing, and you sort of wonder what this stuff is made out of. But I've got to be honest, I'm still going to be giving them. I've already paid for them, and I'll be giving them away. I'm not going to take them back.
But you know what? It depends who the urine is of. If the urine is of a beautiful young woman or a handsome young man, pour it over me.
Well, there we go.
Wow.
There we go. We all have we all have personal
Exactly.
preferences, don't we? So
I think Diane is taken, but there's somebody out there that was.
Oh my God.
Wondrous. That concludes part one of our journalistic journey. Join us for part two, where we will deal with partying politicians, Class A drugs, and exploding fish tanks. We'll see you in two.
We are GB News, and we'd like to say thank you to each and every one of you for bringing us your conversations, for helping our great nation find its voice. We are here for you on radio, television, and online, across England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland.
It's not the BBC, you actually get your facts right.
We are proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates. Do you not believe in prison?
I don't believe in prison.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed. So I guess they've always been quite woke. That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, We're
on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and TuneIn apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. for Gloria Meets. In exclusive interviews, I'll be finding out who our politicians really are and what they really think.
It's something that you would never want anyone to suffer.
I didn't know what channels there were. B, I didn't think I'd be believed.
I must have weighed about 7 stone and I'm 5'8".
My instincts was to sort of cover this up. Clearly that was a mistake.
Join me every Sunday at 6 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners with me, Diane Spencer, and we have our classic crooners for this evening. We have Josh Howie and the wondrous Lewis Schaefer.
Yeah.
So we begin with the Telegraph, and perhaps the Red Wall is being rebuilt up north purely because Tory voters are too cold to defend it, Lewis.
No, that's totally not true. It makes it seem like it's not true. Like sorry for this. I didn't mean to disagree with you.
No.
But there's a by-election that the guy won by he got 69% of of the vote, I think.
Yeah, that's pretty big. That's pretty
big.
good.
So why bother to show up and vote if you know that your party is going to win? It has to only win by 1% of the vote, one vote. So this is what happened up there. That Labour wins a by-election in the place in Stretford and Urmston, which I should have checked where that is, but it's up in the north.
It's a southwest suburb of Manchester.
Right, like the Stretford end.
You can smell it. They wear a special perfume there.
You know what?
Oh my God, I hope you're not kicking up this.
I'm wearing. No, that's my team. That's my team. And anyways, this guy, Andrew Western, won. He won by 9,000 votes. The Tory candidate got only 2,900 votes. Usually in these seats, there are 90,000 people who were voting. So this does not mean anything. It doesn't mean there's a red wave all gone.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, they have taken a larger slice of the pie.
Okay.
I mean, this could be indicative, certainly. But interestingly, this is from the Telegraph. And so from the right-wing press, but also you're going to hear exactly the same narrative pushed forward by the far left, the Corbynites, and they're all saying, oh, well, this is actually like a record low turnout because it was only 25% or whatever, but it was super cold. They assumed that it was going to be an easy hold for Labour, which it was, and also you had the postal vote strike, so that hasn't been factored in. So all of these things, yeah, OK, it was a low turnout. That doesn't mean that people are particularly happy with Tories.
But also, if you don't vote, then you can't be upset with what occurs, surely.
Boo.
Well, no,
boo, Diane, boo. Why do people constantly
Stop explaining democracy.
Democracy is you're not forced to vote. There's no thing that says if you don't vote, you're not allowed to make a comment.
You probably don't believe in voting, do you?
I can't even vote. I'm a dirty foreigner in this country. You let every other nationality vote, but not Americans, because we beat you.
We just have an IQ test and you can take it, and if you pass, you're allowed to choice.
Tweet anti-Josh Howard.
Oh, no, don't, please. Don't get your fan base onto me.
OK, we're going to move to The Guardian now, and Northern Ireland might be getting echoes of pandemic Rishi Sunak. Do you remember that issue of Rishi Sunak? You know, the one who would pledge financial support for households during bleak times, Josh.
I know, it's a nice throwback, isn't it? Sunak pledges £600 to Northern Ireland energy support payments this winter. Essentially, in Ireland, obviously, they're getting the same money that I think is at £900 for a typical family, which is subsidising the bills at the moment. No, but that's what everyone's getting. So they're getting that as well. What's happening in Northern Ireland is they have a resilience on heating oil. So they're going to get an extra 600 quid. The problem is it hasn't been paid. And as people might know, it's quite cold out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Strike, ambulance, call me. Don't call an ambulance for me.
Lewis, do you think this is appropriate for Rishi Sunak to be handing out money again when he's also telling us that he hasn't got any money to give to sort of nurses?
Well, you know something, that's the question, half of the question, which is should they be handing out money? The thing that got us into trouble was that they were handing out money. There were barrelfuls of money. And £600 a month doesn't seem like very much.
That's not a month, that's like the total.
The total. Doesn't seem like very much. But if there are 1 million households in Northern Ireland, which there might be, okay, 1 million households, because there are like 2.5 million people. I don't know, I haven't checked. But there are a lot of households.
You feel like might be.
But if you multiply 1 million households by £600, that's $600 million that's being shipped over to those people.
Okay, but the point is that that £600 is also a big deal to some families who really, really need it.
Well, maybe we should find out who the families are that really need it and give
Well,
it
that's it. Giving out the blanket, I've always been against this idea of just you give it out to everybody, this sort of payment, when actually giving it out to the people most in need of it. But look, he said we're going to give it out this winter, but, you know, really, when is winter? Can you define winter?
So in Northern Ireland,
expect it in a year or so from now.
Yeah. Right. Can I tell you what the most shocking thing is, Diane?
Please do.
Is this, and Josh, is that the Sinn Féin, right, who's the putative First Minister, this Michelle O'Neill, Sinn Féin are the people who hate Britain. They hate us, English people. And she actually complained that they should have sent the money sooner. Did you read that? They should have sent the money sooner.
But then Sunak did a sort of a little dig towards the DUP, saying how, you know, this is why we need a functioning executive within Northern Ireland, because then that would have helped towards it. But really, whether there'd been an executive or not, I still don't believe people would have got their payments because this government is falling apart. It's rubbish.
Right, well, conclusive there from Mr. Harry.
Yeah, of course you don't.
OK, so moving on to the Daily Mail, and it turns out, Josh, that there may be a reason for Liz Truss talking so much, not listening to others, and grinning madly all the time.
Is that Liz?
Yeah, well, she's condemning categorically untrue claims that traces of suspected cocaine were found after summer parties at her Grace and Favour Chevening mansion. She might say this categorically untrue. This is in the Mail, but it's from an article or in the Guardian where they have found cleaners found white substances in various different rooms after these parties that she was definitely at. And then it turns out there are also claims that cocaine was found in bathrooms.
Because they did a test, didn't they? Did a drugs test, where it was Class A drugs.
Yeah, exactly. They do a little swab. And also supposedly there were similar things found at number 10 during these parties as well. Look, this isn't a surprise to me. I'm personally, believe it or not, I've never taken drugs, which I know sounds mental for someone in the entertainment industry. I don't have a moral issue with them as such, but I'm a bit of a control freak. Saying that, cocaine is not a nice drug, but I am not surprised that people in government take it I mean, it's just sort of like...
You know what did surprise me a little bit? Two things surprised me here. Why on earth do the cleaners have Class A drug testing kits, readily available?
They're just hoping to find some stuff.
Well, if you have it readily available, that does suggest you have a problem, doesn't it?
Oh, you think? OK.
Well, I mean...
Maybe they're very thorough cleaners. They just want to know exactly what it is.
Maybe there's, lies going on. The fact that there's cocaine in Whitehall or these events is like saying you found traces of donuts at a police party. Yeah. I mean, it's like, of course these people take drugs.
That's inappropriate, though.
It isn't appropriate. But you go anywhere, you go anywhere in Britain and in the middle-class world, and there's cocaine everywhere.
But are you telling me that the government who's been calling for a crackdown on middle-class, Class A drug use are being hypocrites? Is that really what you're saying, Diane?
I very well may be. I mean, if their cleaners need to carry around Class A testing drugs kits, and they were cutting up the cocaine with a Boots Advantage card, how casual?
Well, also, how easy? That's an easy thing to find.
Yeah,
because it's like extra large.
Your name's on your Boots cards.
Prophylactics, some Viagra. Yeah. It's Josh's.
Do you know what? This story is such a non-story. There's cocaine.
No, it's not a non-story. This is an important story.
It's a very important story.
It is a non-story.
I mean, it does suggest why her time in Parliament was only 45 days. She was doing everything very quickly.
It suggests Michael Gove's dancing
and his
skills.
impressions.
Yes,
it's
and his
all
impressions.
Adding up.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Times now. Liz Truss might...
Allegedly!
Oh, yeah, allegedly. Thank you. Yeah.
I didn't say it.
Liz Truss might not have had a party, but it sounds like some other MPs definitely have, Josh.
Yeah, so parliamentary trips used for sex tourism and heavy drinking. This is what are called APPGs, which are all-party parliamentary groups. And there's about 700 of them, and they're people across all the different parties, and they go off, and some of the things they do is they go off on holiday, i.e. they're a group to support Thailand or whatever, and the Thai government pays for them to go across and do business relations or whatever, and essentially they go there, they get a nice free holiday, and some of them obviously, and this is across Conservative and Labour, are getting up some dodgy shenanigans.
Yeah, but surely, Lewis, this is just like a happy accident of the fact that you happen to be abroad, so you happen to take advantage of the local hospitality. Is this not being blown out of all proportion?
Local hospitality.
Blown out being the word.
Can I say something else about this in the British press, and you guys making a big deal? This is such a non-story.
Oh, my God. You're on a story show the whole...
I don't care, but this is I'm going to rip this up.
You can't say with every story this is a non-story.
You're telling me there are 650 MPs and some of them don't get up to trouble? You're telling me that they're men and women on a junket, as we used to call it?
Yeah, well, you would hope they would not. They are representatives.
Not one of them? You can't get any story?
Well, this is a whole bunch of them. That's the problem.
This is a brand new story that's happening only under the Tory administration?
There is a bit of an issue here, Lewis, because you really don't want your politicians going abroad and buying sex workers. We want them to buy British sex workers. We want them to pay into our British sex work industry.
Yeah, well, that's it. Then when they were saying here that travelling MPs, this is what someone said, a source said, they see themselves as celebrities in their own lunchtime. They drink and behave badly and arrogantly. It's boorish behaviour. And that actually a little bit offended me because I was like, wait a minute. That's all British people abroad. Can we give us some credit? That's part of being British.
Yes.
Is being boorish abroad. Come on, man.
Can I say something? I know a little bit about this because I played a senator in a Gal Gadot movie who was up to no good, a U.S. senator. So I know there's a temptation.
Right, well, let's just...
That's called acting, Lewis.
I know, but I felt it. I was feeling the part.
Lewis, this is your story, and it's from The Sun,
story.
and I love this story, so I do want to get to it before we go to the break.
Yeah.
If you were staying at a luxury hotel in Berlin, how fast would you like your sushi to arrive?
Well, that's very funny. This is one of those only in Dubai stories, except it happened in Berlin. Is that this huge tank, 82 feet high, just a glass...
We've got a picture of the tank.
There it is, yeah.
That's like 8 floors high.
It just looks like a glass of
Yeah, but you can see people in it.
Well, can you see people in it?
Well, now you can.
Now, oh yeah.
We're going to have a picture
it looks like
of the
there's one.
We have the after one.
There.
It's the after.
Anyway, it broke. It was there. It broke, and luckily nobody was hurt. But it basically trashed the hotel, and there were 1,500 fish that died. I'm surprised PETA or whatever the climate activists weren't there, and it was a
good breakfast that morning.
It was a proper mess. They said it was 1.2 on the Richter scale, right?
Wow.
Even registers as an earthquake.
Amount of water. Yeah. And can I say, it's a 4-star hotel, or should that be 4-star fish?
Yeah!
Yeah! On fire!
Wait, I don't get that joke.
Part 2.
4-star fish.
Starfish.
Oh, 4-star fish.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I didn't.
That concludes part 2.
I bet the audience
Part
didn't
3
understand that either.
Is where we get into the microcosm of Elon Musk's ego, non-gender specific Christmas carols, and an all-American whodunit. See you soon.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Mark Stein. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by Headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel. Why not take us home with you by visiting the GB News shop at gbnews.store. You'll find all the official merchandise, a really good present actually for yourself, your friends or your family.
We ship across the UK mainland at no extra cost. GB News, the People's Channel.
Here on GB News Live, we'll be keeping you in the picture, finding out what's happening across the country and finding out why it matters to you. We'll have the facts fast with our team of reporters and specialist correspondents. Wherever it's happening, we'll be there from 12 noon on TV, radio and online. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. We're going to be here for you, our GB News family, to keep you up to date, but also make you smile.
The guy went from puberty to adultery.
And I can't wait to bring a few of my own opinions.
I have no time for cultural totalitarianism.
We'll engage in passionate, but always polite debate, with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Headliners. So we're going to start with a story in The Guardian about red-on-red violence. And I'm not talking about the last punch-up at Ginger Day. Josh?
Yeah, this is more like red-on-Jew violence. Last 6 years of my life summed up in this story. Absolutely shameless. Ken Loach says BBC helped destroy Jeremy Corbyn. No, Jeremy Corbyn helped destroy Jeremy Corbyn by being a toxic, racist crank. Leading the Labour Party to being examined by the EHRC and found to have discriminated against Jews. Now, he is saying here that Ken Loach saying that the media has rewritten history. Now, this is coming from someone, Ken Loach, went on the BBC, and he was asked a couple of years ago, this was at the Labour conference, and there was a fringe meeting where part of it was debating whether or not the Holocaust happened. Right? The Holocaust, 6 million Jews died, murdered, genocide, and there was a fringe meeting there. And because he was so desperate to essentially defend Corbyn's Labour at the time, and they said, what do you say? He wouldn't condemn that. And what he said instead was, yeah, I think we should discuss it. That's what he said. This is also someone who tried to put on a play called Perdition, which is a disgusting anti-Semitic play that basically blames Jews for their own genocide. This is Ken Loach also defended a racist who basically kept on going about how Jewish leverage and whatever, why Jews have so much leverage or whatever. And by the way, this isn't like some lifetime Labour supporter. He did not vote for Labour in 2015. He only started supporting Labour when the, again, racist crank came into power, Jeremy Corbyn. So for him to go on about how the media have destroyed him, no, Jeremy Corbyn did it. And by the way, I don't think that it was anti-Semitism that did Jeremy Corbyn in at all. I think it was him basically backing Russia with the poisonings that happened, and people seeing the toxicity and his inability to deliver on what I think actually... I think that railways should be renationalised. I agree with some of what was put forward at the time, but he certainly and his team were not the people to lead it.
Right, and Lewis.
Don't ask Lewis, please.
Well, no, I was gonna say, do you
just shut up?
Do you agree? Because if like this sounds, then Ken Loach, is he trying to sort of gaslight us with what he's saying here?
No, I think what he's saying is that an entire faction of the Labour Party has been removed from the party.
They weren't the Labour Party.
No,
all those people they joined after Corbyn got into power. That's the point.
But
they weren't true Labour.
No, a lot of
they
them
were a bunch of socialist working party cranks, and they were all attracted to Labour.
I'm going to defend the ultra-left.
Oh, come on, man.
No, I'm going to defend them because I know a lot of these people, and I don't agree with that. I'm with you. I don't agree with them at all. But here they are. They don't even have a place in the major political party. Which means, well, it just means that it disenfranchises a large section of people.
Yeah, of a large section of very racist people.
Now let them form their own party and maybe call it the National Socialist Party. Would you be happy with that, Josh?
It's all right. It's not. We're not here to fix the world's problems, but we are here to reflect on them.
But you know what? He makes some good films. Good, but maybe just stop trying to rewrite history.
Our friend is
a friend of ours in it. He's going to be my friend. He's going to defriend me on Facebook.
Yeah. He's already defriended me.
Oh, really? Well,
we're going to move on to we're going to move on to the Metro now. And could the world's second richest man be the world's biggest hypocrite, Lewis?
No, not at all. The guy paid. This is a story about Elon Musk and how, and this is in the Metro, it's all over the place, how free speech supposedly champion Elon Musk bans journalists from Twitter for covering him, which is not true, is that they were basically reporting on his whereabouts and they were following him down the street and they were annoying his child.
You're not giving the full truth there, mate. They weren't doing that.
No, other people were doing it. And I'm going to tell you something.
One person did it.
The one thing about Elon Musk and what makes Elon Musk a great man is he's creating so much controversy that he's going to make Twitter a success. And I think by him banning some people in the same way that the old Twitter banned tons of people.
Shadow banning, which has now come out and been revealed to be a real thing that they did, violating their own policies. Yeah.
Right. Not only just shadow banning, which is true, but actually banning people. They took Donald Trump off. Now they're doing it to New York Times journalists. And what that's doing is that's making the people in the New York Times say, we want to be in Twitter.
No, what that's called is hypocrisy.
No.
I had a lot of high hopes when he would take over, and the way that Twitter was behaving before, shutting down certain people, I totally disagree with. He came in under this manifesto of like free speech, and he has basically shut down a bunch of journalists for revealing public information.
Didn't Josh Howey, who's sitting right here, just spend 3 minutes saying that what's his name?
Jeremy Corbyn,
Ken Loach. Corbyn and Ken Loach should not be in the party because we don't want to hear their.
There's a difference between being a political party and then having a voice. I'm not saying they should be banned from Twitter. They can spew their rubbish
I'm not saying
wherever.
I'm not saying you're a hypocrite.
Well,
I'm going to think it. I'm going to
yeah,
think it.
I mean, it does sort of resonate with the same kind of hypocrisy that we get from Harry and Meghan, who are saying, please leave us alone, we want our privacy, just watch our Netflix documentary. And here you have Elon saying, free speech for everyone, but not if you're talking about me. That's the kind of thing.
He has rules, he has a rule. Which is,
he doesn't have a rule. He makes up rules as and when he decides to. Now, he is the boss, and that's fine, and it's his companies. But let's not pretend that this is an arbitrary decision for the moment. And by the way, he said, by the way, oh, look, I'm not even going to block this account that sort of follows my jet around or whatever. Oh, but then suddenly he's going to sort of ban a bunch of journalists.
Well, that's his rule. His rule is free speech for everybody but me.
But anybody who's being critical of him.
That's rule. No, not critical.
Oh, yeah, well, they are journalists who happen to be investigating him.
People are saying horrible things about Elon Musk.
No, they are journalists.
My friend Andy Kindler's not my friend, but he's a very funny comedian. You know Andy Kindler?
Yeah, of course.
He equated Elon Musk in a tweet with Hitler as a leading brown shirts. So that's on there. That's a horrible thing to say. Imagine you being calling somebody who isn't a Hitler.
I think I'm going to just ski with us to the next story. I'm going to steer this shopping trolley the best I can. Yeah. So to the Telegraph now, and at this merry time of year, I can't help wondering if once in Royal David City, did they have gender-neutral song sheets?
Indeed.
Josh?
Christmas carol choir books changed to reflect gender diversity. Essentially, if you're in the choir, some sections, there's all the technical terms.
Like alto, soprano, mezzo-soprano.
If you've been watching Sopranos. But supposedly there's male, like they go, OK, all the men sing in this bit and all the females sing in this bit. That's essentially how it was done. What they've changed that now to is higher and lower. So they've done this after consulting trans activists. I'm sure that was what a great spending money. I don't know how non-identifying, non-binary people, if there's another section for them. But you know what? Here, the interesting thing about this, and there's a lot of talk, and the reason why I feel very passionate about this whole debate, gender identity and whatnot, is because one of the things they do is erase women. Like, literally erase the word women. This is what Stonewall has been proven to have been doing, for example, over the last few years. Now, this is interesting because this is the first time that I've seen also erasing the word man. Yes. So they've erased the word women to go higher voices, but they've also, because this week we had Cambridge Dictionary bringing a new defining women as anybody who essentially defines themselves as a woman, right? Did they redefine men in the same way? No. So at least they're not being hypocritical here.
Lewis, it's a song sheet, right? I mean, shouldn't it be already listed as mezzo, soprano, alto, like what your vocal range is? I mean, do you think that this is something that we should pay attention to? Or do you think that women should have, like, the particular part to sing? Like, is it important to have sort of the female voices when maybe an angel appears or something?
Once upon a time, women had very beautiful voices, and I think today, today you can't be sure that a woman has a nice voice. And you can't be sure because of all the soy boys out there. You can't be sure if a guy's a man that they're going to have a deep voice. So
that's the other thing, because obviously, like, for example, Elizabeth Holmes, the woman who was convicted of the Theranos scandal, she always walked around with a very deep voice, and she sort of purposefully put it on like that.
Yes.
So maybe she would be singing the lower voice anyway.
She could probably could do both.
So we're going to go to the Guardian next, and football is a beautiful game, but not a fair one.
Well, it is a fair one. They're saying it's not fair that Scotland's women's football team launched a legal action against the Scottish Football Association over equal pay. They want equal pay, and here's a story in the Guardian which talks about money and does not mention money even once. So we have no idea what exactly they're talking about. We have no idea what equal exactly means.
Well, this was first written in interpretive dance, so I'm quite glad that they've managed to put it into words.
Right, it was written in a high voice.
Yeah, this. Come on,
Yeah.
Say your opinion first, so I can.
Let's say my opinion. My opinion is that basically nobody watches women's football, and if they did, all the money came in, they would have a stake. But nothing personal. I love football. I love women's football.
So you're saying that because the women maybe don't get as high viewer figures and there's less sponsorship, why should they be paid the same? But Josh, surely they're still doing the same job. They're kicking the same ball into the same net, literally on the same pitch.
No.
No.
No. The fact is they bring in less money. They already get more money spent on them than the money that they actually bring in.
Defend women,
And
Josh.
no, I'm not going to defend women on this because I think it's a load of rubbish. First of all, I hate football anyway, so that means I also hate women's football. I'm just going to be fair about it. I'm also going to say, hey, you know what? What about disabled football? Why? They should get the same pay as the men and women. Yeah. And also, what about youth football? They should get the same pay, surely. They're also kicking a ball across the pitch.
So you think that it all depends on, like, how much airtime you get, what sponsorship
I think football should be banned. I hate it. I went on a school trip this week. It was such a nightmare.
Football
and all the kids,
they
were like, what team do you support? What team do you support? My poor little kid who doesn't support football. Anyway.
Shut him down. Shut him down. Football is the best thing about this country.
Final story from this section, from the Metro. I'm going to turn to our resident armchair detective, Josh. So tell me, because surely amateur sleuths everywhere are going to be very excited about this pile of evidence that's just been released.
And conspiracy theorists as well.
Oh, yes.
And we got a few of those. So more than 13,000 classified JFK assassination files released to the public. This is in the Metro. Now, a couple of years ago, and it wasn't a couple of years ago, it was bloody 31 years ago, JFK came out, great film, Oliver Stone, directed, and then at the end of the film it says the documents will be revealed in 25 years time or whatever it turns out 31 years, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't know if I'll get, and here we are on the cusp of this.
You made it!
And I'm bald and I've got a great beard and I've been looking forward to this moment for 30 years,
Lewis,
and we're finally
here.
here.
Discover anything new?
No, we won't discover anything new. And interesting side, I had a friend who actually investigated this. And
That's how old you are.
That's how old I am. Back in the 1980s, and by that point, it had been going on too long as it was.
Well, we're going to have to hear about that in the break. Fascinating stuff. So soon we have our final section where we will be discussing gingerbread people, overly erotic colours, and satanic school clubs. See you soon.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
The national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here. You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
We are GB News, right across the nation. You can get us on television, on radio, on digital. We're absolutely everywhere.
Amazing. You see, amazing.
You remind me of me in the European Parliament.
But here's the most important bit. We are not part of the mainstream establishment. We think and speak just like you do. We are the People's Channel.
Magnificent. That's really, really thoughtful.
Come and join us on GB News, the People's News Channel.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today!
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News, the People's Channel.
Yeah, good.
Welcome back to the final part of Headliners. We start with the Times and over to the Atlantic now. And in some American schools, good little kids are turning into educated little devils. Lewis.
Well, that is totally true because in a place in Chesapeake, which is in Virginia, I've never been down there, but I think it's along the water there in Virginia, and that they're trying to set up an after-school Satan club, which wants to champion science and reason, and it's causing a bit of a furor because people who are Christians have their clubs, and so now as Satanists wants to take over their club. And I think the whole purpose of the whole thing was to, the Satanic Temple was setting a trap, provoking school boards to withdraw approval for all the religious groups.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
So you this is a reaction. So
yeah, it's exactly what. There's a very good documentary on Netflix, only tune over in a bit, called Hell Satan, and it basically follows these people, the Satanic Temple. They're not actually Satanists.
No.
And what they do is their whole purpose is to set up these actions to fight against what they see as the collusion of church and state. But in America, there's meant to be a separation of church and state. So when you have actions like, church Christian groups being brought into primary schools, they see that as a bad thing. So they're going, well, OK, we're going to go and set up a Satan group.
Yeah.
And then the idea is if they get banned, then that sets up then they go, well, why are you allowing that Christian? And they've got a different ideology, and there's freedom of religion here, and that's what they do. And they go around. It's a really good documentary. It's called Hell Satan. It's really funny as well because they're very witty with it, and they sort of what they do, and you could see all these people getting very upset. But really, it's holding up a mirror to what the Christian fundamentalists, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's totally right. And they're trying to sort of, as you said, highlight, well, if you're going to do this for one religious group, really you should do it for all of them. But did you know that actually the history of the word Satan, the word Satan used to actually mean messenger of God, and there wasn't just one Satan, there were many Satans. An angel was a Satan, and actually the word got changed through history and with the story of how Lucifer fell and everything, and it all changed. So just a little fact for you there.
I don't know. I will tell my church that when I head in.
Yeah, but the problem is, as a red-headed woman talking about stuff like that, I've already been burnt in, several centuries. An international story from the Times now, proof that culture wars are happening all over the place.
It is. It's quite a good story that way, isn't it? It just shows that there's sort of bit of religious fundamentalism all over the world.
Oh, no, this is the next story. An Indian minister is flustered by 50
that's what I'm
shades
saying.
of
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Costume drama over dirty Deepika Padukone, I'm right.
Padukone?
I've just been cancelled. Song in Bollywood film. And yeah, this is what I'm saying is that this sort of Hindu activists have got themselves in a bit of a twist because there was a sort of music video to promote this film, and there was a woman singing and dancing suggestively, but she was wearing saffron. And saffron is seen as a colour traditionally worn by Hindu saints, and so that's got everybody a little bit in a bother. And so, like I say, I think this is very encouraging that you can see different examples of intolerance across religions, across the world. This is also what's part of a larger thing here in that the Modi's party, who runs India, they now have control over 13 states as well. So this has sort of emboldened a lot of sort of Hindu fundamentalists to start sort of being a bit more intolerant, and that has consequences for the Muslim population of India and people who aren't, as religious.
And obviously this is a woman wearing sexy beachwear, and now Lewis, you're in the industry, right? So you know about costume and things like that. Yeah. Was this a bad costume choice since saffron is a religious colour, or do you think it was chosen on purpose to cause this controversy?
I probably did. It was like what happened with Madonna, back in the day.
She wore saffron.
But at the same time, a lot of these things were done to alienate people. So if they get a reaction, they basically wanted the reaction. And the truth is, Josh and Diane, is that at the end of the day, I stand for conservative values.
Yeah, well, I like how another director, when asked, was like, "Oh, this is all just it was very dismissive, and it's all about being inspired by Instagram." Yeah. And then they pointed out, but your films do exactly the same, and he was like, "Oh, yeah."
But you know what? The complaint was made to the Indian Information and Broadcasting Ministry, which is like their Ofcom, and I don't think the state should be used to suppress this.
Hi, Ofcom.
Moving on to the Daily Star. Next, a story for all you baking fans. I've never put nuts in my gingerbread man. Have you, Lewis?
I've never cooked gingerbread, and I don't eat gingerbread anymore because it's high in carb. It's amazingly delicious. It's addictive, and it makes people fat and unhealthy. So I'm against it. So it's painful even to read this thing, because maybe somebody out there is going to think, well, gingerbread is a good thing. But a bakery came up with a funny thing that because of a labeling law change, they had to put a label on everything that they made, and instead of calling it gingerbread man, which is the shape of a person, with vague background, with no male or female characteristics, they said as a joke, they called it non-binary gingerbread people. And people have been mocking it and making fun of it.
It's very offensive to intersex people.
Yeah, and I tell you, who it's the most offensive, and I think Diana's is gonna riff on this, to ginger people. That people are.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what the most offensive thing about that is? That a gingerbread man can be baked. You can't put a ginger person in an oven. We can't walk under the sun. I'm very fat.
It is interesting. He did it, and they did it 3 years ago, and it was just a joke. And now it's sort of someone put something on Facebook, and it's had all these comments and whatever. I also think this might be partly indicative of people actually waking up to the larger gender ideology.
Can be.
Well, yes, it is a silly thing, and it was a joke. But I think that gender ideology is crossing over into the mainstream now, and people are much more aware of it.
Okay, so we're going on to the Daily Mail now, to the films of Disney. I was a Disney child. I watched lots of those films where I grew up, and if you had a kiss in one scene, you're probably getting married in the next. Is this a healthy expectation of a relationship, Josh?
Absolutely. That's how I got married. I kissed my wife, and she was forced to then be with me for the rest of my life. It's great. So yeah, I'm not going to read that whole thing. Forget Aladdin and Jasmine. Essentially, they're saying that it creates an unrepresentative or unrealistic idea of romance. The interesting thing is it's more these Disney movies, but it's not these Disney movies. It's just fairy tales in general, i.e. Beauty and the Beast and whatever.
She falls in love with the dog.
Snow White, Cinderella. These aren't of course they're Disney movies, but they come from older stories. If you look at the more modern stuff that Disney puts out under the Pixar, you've got things like Up and Wall-E, and Up has just got that most beautiful 20 minutes opening scene where it's like their whole life, and that is heartbreaking. I cry every time I read that.
So it's the old school Disney.
It's the old school stuff that's based on these fairy tales. And but the idea of what they're really trying to get at is that schools maybe should take a step forward in selling a more realistic idea of relationships. But the reality is children learn at home.
Yeah.
And that's why my children, they come from a home of love, and I love my wife, and we show affection towards each other, and that's why Lewis's kids are messed up.
If Lewis rolls his eyes any harder, they're going to fall out of his head.
I mean, people are listening.
Your kids
to
are
this.
traumatized.
They're listening to this, and they're saying, "This guy is so full of it. You are so full of it." It might be.
I'm not full of it.
You know what? It might be true, and
that's true. And I'm the luckiest man in the world.
Can we do this last story in about 30 seconds?
Okay.
Where if it was up to this angry uncle, every Christmas present would be a lump of coal.
It's not even this guy's kid, because this 10-year-old kid, borrowed money from his grandmother.
Stole.
No, well, by accident. They put it on a credit card. I don't know if it's stealing exactly. He puts it on the credit card, and he wasn't able to pay £300. So his father's brother.
It's called uncle.
So his uncle, so his uncle says, you know what, I don't like what you did to my mom, so I'm not going to give you Christmas presents.
I think fair enough. Sounds pretty good to me.
I think it is fair enough, but it's not his business.
I know, my sister's not giving my kids presents this year.
Yeah, and you'll never speak to her again, right? You'll never speak to her again.
She doesn't watch the show.
Okay.
Well, thank you ever so much to my wonderful panel, Josh Howie and Lewis Schaefer.
A round of applause.
Well done, your first
This was my first time hosting, so thank you. It was very enjoyable. Well, that's all we have time for. Brilliant guests. Please join us tomorrow at 11, where I will be joined by Steve N. Allen, who will be hosting, and Leo Kurz. So grab a hot drink. We hope you stay warm. Look after yourselves, and we'll see you again soon, okay? Goodbye.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
We are GB News, the People's Channel.
And right across the United Kingdom.
You can find us on Sky Channel 512,
Virgin Media Channel 604,
Freesat Channel 216,
Freeview Channel 236,
and YouView Channel 236.
You can also take us with you on DAB+ radio,
with the GB News app and at the website gbnews.uk.
We're absolutely everywhere. Come join us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. Over a drink, we have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
Monday to Thursday on GB News, it's Bev Turner Today from 10 a.m. There's never been a more interesting but also critical time in British politics, and I can't wait to bring you the biggest stories of the day with the best factual accuracy and also a few of my own opinions thrown in. We'll engage in passionate but always polite debate with your thoughts and opinions at the centre of it all. Monday to Thursday, 10 till 12 on TV, on radio and online.
Happy Friday. It's Lawrence Fox News time. The slog of the week is over, and I'm here to cool your cockles with some heated debate and thoughtful reflection. Coming up on the show, with everyone on strike except me, I have opened the debate doors and we will be discussing if frontline workers should be allowed to strike. Then the LGBTQ++ exclamation mark question mark agenda is to be taught to children without their parents' consent. And finally, I'm dishing it out with Annabelle Croft. First though, the news with Bethany Elsey.
Hello there, good evening. I'm Bethany Elsey in the GB newsroom. Eurostar says it's been forced to cancel its services to London on Boxing Day because the RMT strikes will close the UK's high-speed line. The announcement comes as more than 40,000 union members strike for a third time this week following an ongoing dispute over pay and conditions. RMT leader Mick Lynch says little progress has been made during negotiations, but that he believes a compromise is achievable. More industrial action is planned for tomorrow. A man from Leicestershire who murdered his partner in his parents' home has been sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 23 years. Ross McCullum was dating his colleague Megan Newborough when he strangled her and cut her throat last year. The court heard how he tried to cover up her death by hiding her bloody clothes in nearby bins and leaving a voicemail on her phone. Outside the court, her family described him as the definition of a monster.
I know how difficult it's been for my parents and sister to sit at court every day, listening to the web of lies spun by someone Meghan not only knew, but whom she trusted, someone who clearly had no love for her at all. We're the ones now serving the life sentence. No amount of time in prison can bring Meghan back. We have to carry on with our lives as best as we can, but Meghan will never leave our thoughts.
Police are investigating a suspected triple murder in Northamptonshire. The victims have been named as Anju Asok, who was an NHS nurse, and her 2 young children, Jiva and Janvi Sanju. They were found at a house in Kettering yesterday morning. A 52-year-old man is being questioned in connection with their deaths. 3 people are in a critical condition and 1 person has been arrested after a suspected crowd crush at a music venue in South London.
Asked us to close the show. We apologize to you. This has nothing to do with us.
The Met Police has launched an investigation after officers were called to the Brixton O2 Academy last night. Video footage shows a large crowd of people trying to force their way into the concert venue. Police say they're reviewing social media and CCTV video. And Prince William's godmother has apologised for repeatedly asking a charity boss where she was from during a royal reception. Buckingham Palace says